Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about something really important that we all do, cleaning stalls. So I'm going to show you how I do it and why I do and some of the tools that I use. Let's get started in Junior's stall. So the first thing we're going to talk about are our tools. First, pretty regular pitchfork. I seem to have to buy a new one of these every year or so because the tines break or the wood dowel comes off. But anyway, I use one of the nice plastic ones. I've had some before that have the cage underneath, and that works too. And then you'll also see the other thing that I have is a broom. And I use the broom both inside the stall and outside the stall when it's dry. I know that sounds kind of funny, but we'll get into that. Sometimes I use a spade. I think it's called a spade. It's the flat square type of shovel to help get up the last of the dust and the things that will fall through the tines. But I'm not going to use that one today. The other thing that I use is one of these Rubbermaid wheelbarrows. This is one that has two wheels on it, and you can see I can easily move it around with just one hand. I can't remember the cubic yards of it exactly, but it's the same one that I've been buying for the last 10 years, and every now and then I have to replace it. Usually something kind of goes wrong with the wheels itself. I prefer using this Rubbermaid version of the wheelbarrow versus one with a single wheel. This one's really easy. You can push it around with one hand, manipulate a stall door, push a horse out of the way. So those are the three main things that I'll have with me when I'm in cleaning stalls. Now the other thing to note is that I use pelleted bedding in my stalls. I don't do a really deep bedding, but just enough so that they have some cushion. My geldings don't actually go to the bathroom, urinate in the stall. They'll just defecate. So I don't really need to have the pellets down for absorbing. However, they do a really excellent job of doing that as well. I like the pellets because they last a really long time when I put it down. I can put one bag in here, and again, because my horses don't pee on it, the bag will last like 2 weeks, and I'll just, as I sweep and scoop up, some of it'll kind of go along with it. But the pellets work out really well, and they're really easy for storage because I can just keep a bag on hand and then pull it out for whichever stall I need it for that day. So this particular stall is getting a little bit light in the bedding. So I'll show you how I get the pellets ready for the new stall. So real quick, this is the bag of pellets that I usually use. They come in a variety of brands. Sometimes I get a different one. This is usually the least expensive one that I can find. I think my hay supplier sells it for about $4.50 a bag, so that's a really good price for around here. That's just premium stall pellets. Now what I do is actually dump the pellets into one of these buckets. I don't even know exactly how big it is, but you'll see it's super flexible. And I got a 2-pack of these from Costco a couple years ago. So I actually put the bag of pellets into the bucket, the whole thing, because I'm going to use one bag for the whole stall. And you'll see that the pellets are an actual pellet, similar to like what you might use in a burning stove for your house. And one of the things that the manufacturer actually recommends is for you to wet it before putting it in your horse's stall. That might seem a little counterintuitive because we want it to absorb any of their messes, but actually if you leave it just in there like this, I'll all hard and in a pellet form. It's quite slippery, and it doesn't really break down fast enough or effectively to actually start absorbing anything. So I always wet it down first before I put it in my horse's stall. There's no real science to how much water I put in, just until it all seems to be, the top part of it is saturated and a little bit more, because I want it to get all the way down. You can see it's already starting to crumble up a little bit. So I'll leave this here to soak up a little bit longer while I finish cleaning the stall. So you might remember me saying that I use the broom outside in the dry months. The paddocks that I have for my horses and the boarded horses are all a 3/4 minus base, and that's a 3/4 minus gravel base. So one of the things about 3/4 minus is that it actually binds, and it creates a fairly solid structure. So you end up kind of not really having the gravel component of it anymore. But regardless, all of this manure that he's walked on, and because it's dry right now, it's dusty and it's too small to really pick up all of the teeny tiny little guys in the fork. I actually will take the broom and rake it up so that I'm getting all of the fine little pieces that are too small to fit through the tines of the fork. Over time, when it rains, it actually essentially like clogs up your gravel, and it'll stop allowing water to shed really nicely. It'll actually become kind of muddy out here, even though the paddock is actually gravel. So in the summer, particularly when you can, is when I'll make sure that I'm scooping up all of the little pieces that have ground down, and then that's where that shovel can come into handy if you need to scoop up some and then it's falling through the tines. Quite a decent pile now. What the broom will actually help you do and get all the small pieces, you'll be surprised how much of it actually is forgotten about when you're just using the tines. The other thing to take note of, I leave my wheelbarrow inside instead of carting it out with me. There's a couple of reasons for that. I have quite a lip on the edge of the stall, and that's to help keep the shavings and things inside of the stall. And so instead of pushing the wheelbarrow over that lip all the time to get in and out, I just leave it there and kind of walk to it. Paddock's only 36 feet long. The other thing is, it kind of helps barricade my horse, right? So sometimes I don't mind them being out here with me while I'm trying to clean, but Junior in particular likes to be all up in my business, and it just kind of helps keep him separated from me so I can just get the stall clean, right? So the other thing you may have noticed are all of these gross pea spots. Geldings and mares will do it, and especially when it's hot out and it's not raining, it's not really getting washed away at all. And that's pretty normal for them to have a specific area that they like to just kind of keep using as their bathroom. Generally, a horse won't want to actually be laying down on their mess. Sometimes they do, but for the most part, they like to go in a separate spot. So what do we do about these gross pee spots? One thing that I use is lime. So this lime is actually in a powder form, and you can get it hardware stores or at the feed store. And what lime will help do is neutralize some of the odor, and it will actually somewhat sanitize the actual urine mess of it. So I just come in with the lime periodically, especially when it's hot out, and sprinkle it on some of the urine spots. And that helps neutralize it. I'll actually spray this down a bit with water because you don't want the horses accidentally ingesting too much of it. And knowing Junior, he would come out here and start licking it. All right, let's go check on the pellets. They've done exactly what we want them to do. They've puffed up. They're all ready to absorb some more, and I'm going to go ahead and put it in Junior's stall. I just kind of puff it up a little bit more for good measure. Help spread it out a bit. And you'll see it's a lot finer and less pellet-like after you let it absorb some water before. Makes it fluffy and ready to absorb some more. You'll find the other thing that I do is I keep the pellets in like 2/3 corner of the stall. And every day when I come in and clean, I sweep it away from the doorways. So from the paddock door entrance and the stall door entrance. And that's just to help keep more of the bedding here in the stall and less being tracked out and making a mess. The other thing is I'll sweep it away from the feeder area. And that's just in case some of the alfalfa or the hay drops on the ground and they'll eat that all up. And I don't want them to be accidentally ingesting some of that bedding. Any time-saving tricks or hacks that you'd like to share? What are your little things? Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. There you have it. 1 stall down, 3 more to go. Thanks for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.